Nebraska is a land of contrasts, and nowhere is that more apparent than along its western border, where the horizon stretches endlessly and the sky seems bigger than anywhere else in the Cornhusker state. Here, life moves at a pace dictated not by deadlines or traffic lights, but by the rhythm of the seasons and the demands of the land. This chapter takes us into two remote towns on the western edge, Henry and Minotare, places where history, community, and nature collide in a way that feels frozen in time. Our journey begins in Henry, a tiny village nestled in Scottsbluff County, right on the border with Wyoming. Driving into Henry is an experience in itself. There's only one quiet country road leading in, a narrow ribbon of asphalt lined by wheat fields, ranches, and the occasional abandoned building that hints at the town's slowly dwindling population. Fewer than 200 people live here today, but that small number does not diminish the town's character. In fact, it amplifies it. Each resident knows their neighbors, not just by sight, but by the cars they drive, the animals they raise, and the daily routines that have repeated for generations. Henry is a town shaped by the land and by history. It was founded along an early 20th century trade route, a path that once connected ranchers, traders, and settlers moving west. The buildings may be modest, and some stand empty, weathered by time and neglect, but each carries a story of persistence. Walking past the old general store, it's easy to imagine the hum of wagons and horses in a time before paved highways. The train tracks, though long abandoned, hint at a once thriving corridor of commerce. Today, Henry is quieter, more reflective, but it retains the rugged charm of the western frontier. One of Henry's most striking features is the Platte River, which winds along the edge of the town. At sunset, the water reflects the sky in shades of gold and pink, creating a magical atmosphere that draws even the busiest farmer to pause and take in the view. Local children have grown up learning to fish and play along its banks, while older residents recall the days when the river was essential for irrigation and livestock. Every season leaves its mark. Spring brings rushing waters, summer a serene flow, autumn a golden reflection of the surrounding fields, and winter a frozen tranquility that blankets the town in white. Despite its small size, Henry is a community of resilience. Farms and ranches dominate the local economy, and life here revolves around hard work, shared responsibility, and a strong sense of identity. The people of Henry take pride in their heritage, from the pioneer families who first settled the land to the newer residents who chose rural life over the lure of the city. Social life often centers on the community hall, where local events, potlucks, and town meetings strengthen bonds. While modern conveniences are available, residents still value self-sufficiency, and many homes have gardens, livestock, or workshops for crafts and repairs. Heading east from Henry, the landscape gradually changes, with fields growing more uniform and roads a bit busier as we approach Minotare, another small town with its own unique story. Minotare, often spelled Minoteri by older maps, was first founded as Tabore in 1887. However, in 1900, the town relocated slightly and adopted its current name. The move was strategic, influenced by the railroad expansion and the desire for better access to transportation and trade routes. Even today, the town celebrates its history with the annual Tabor Days festival, honoring the original settlement and the families who made it thrive. With roughly 800 residents, Minotare is larger than Henry, but it still retains a sense of calm and intimacy that comes from being a remote rural town. Agriculture dominates the local economy, particularly corn and wheat farming. On a summer day, the sight of endless green cornfields swaying in the wind is breathtaking, and the aroma of freshly tilled soil fills the air. The pace of life here is slow, deliberate, and in harmony with nature's rhythm. Farmers rise early to tend their crops, children walk or bike to school, and neighbors greet each other with a nod or a wave that carries genuine familiarity. One of Minotare's most iconic landmarks is its water tower, often cited as the oldest in Nebraska. Rising above the town, it stands as a symbol of endurance and history. Residents fondly recall stories of climbing the tower as children or using it as a point of reference for directions. For many, it is more than a structure. It represents the town's ability to weather challenges while remaining steadfast. Despite its tranquil charm, Minotare faces challenges common to many small towns. Keeping younger generations from leaving is an ongoing struggle. Many high school graduates move to larger cities for education or work, and not all return. Yet, those who stay find a deep connection to the land, the community, and the traditions that define the town. Local schools, churches, and community organizations work tirelessly to maintain this connection, hosting events that bring people together and celebrate the town's rich heritage. Walking through the streets of Minatare, one notices the careful preservation of older homes and buildings. Wooden porches, vintage signage, and brick facades speak of a time when craftsmanship and durability mattered most. Life is slower here, but there is a rhythm, a quiet satisfaction in tending to one's land, maintaining community ties, and celebrating the changing seasons. Henry and Minatare, while small and remote, offer a glimpse into a Nebraska that many never see. These towns are more than dots on a map. They are living museums of history, community, and resilience. From the quiet strength of Henry's ranching families to the agricultural heartbeat of Minatare and its iconic water tower, the western frontier of Nebraska is a place where time seems to move differently, and where life, in its simplest form, still carries a profound sense of meaning and beauty. Travelers who venture here may find themselves enchanted by sunsets over the Platte River, the endless waves of corn in Minatare, and the quiet streets where neighbors truly know each other. It is a world away from the hustle of urban life, a reminder that sometimes the most extraordinary stories are found in the humblest of places. By the time you leave Henry and Minatare, the western horizon stretches behind you, a constant reminder of the vastness of Nebraska, the endurance of its people, and the unique charm of towns that time has not forgotten. These are towns that embrace simplicity, honor tradition, and continue to write their story quietly, one day at a time. Traveling east and north from Nebraska's western frontier, the landscape begins to whisper stories of railroads, trade, and small towns that thrived alongside iron tracks stretching into the horizon. These towns are quieter today, but their histories are etched into every weathered building, every field, and every family that remains. In this chapter, we explore Broadwater, a village shaped by the railroad, and Chadron, the educational and cultural hub of Nebraska's northwest, where history, isolation, and resilience meet. Our journey begins in Broadwater, a tiny village in Morrill County with fewer than 100 residents. The town is so small that one could walk from end to end in less than an hour, yet within this limited space lies a deep sense of community and an enduring connection to the past. Broadwater's history is intertwined with the expansion of the railroads in the late 19th and early 20th centuries. At one time, the village was a critical stop for transporting crops and livestock to larger markets, with trains arriving regularly to collect the bountiful harvest from surrounding farms. Today, the old railroad tracks lie mostly dormant, silent reminders of a bustling era that shaped the town's identity. Along the tracks stand several buildings, weathered but sturdy, remnants of depots, warehouses, and stores that once served passengers and merchants. Walking past them, one can almost hear the whistle of the trains and imagine the hurried footsteps of farmers and traders moving through town. Even though most residents no longer rely on the railroad, Broadwater's connection to it remains a cornerstone of its identity. Life in Broadwater is dictated by the seasons. Planting season brings a quiet anticipation, while harvest season fills the air with the earthy scent of soil, corn, and wheat. Residents work their land with a rhythm passed down through generations. Despite its isolation, the town has a way of bringing people together. Community gatherings, barbecues, and small-town events are not just social activities, they are vital opportunities for connection and mutual support. In a place where resources are scarce and everyone knows everyone else, collaboration and neighborly care are essential. Broadwater's isolation is both a challenge and a strength. Supplies, medical care, and services require travel to nearby larger towns, but this distance fosters independence, resilience, and resourcefulness among residents. Children grow up learning practical skills, farming, animal care, repair work, and self-reliance skills that are fading in urban areas but remain a lifeline here. The village, though small, thrives on shared history, trust, and the quiet pride of people who have learned to live in harmony with the land and each other. Continuing north, the landscape gradually opens into rolling hills, plains, and dense patches of pine forests. Here lies Chadron, the largest town on our list, with just over 50 residents. Despite being larger than Broadwater, Chadron retains a sense of remoteness. Surrounded by natural beauty and miles from major cities, it offers both the amenities of a small urban center and the tranquility of rural life. What makes Chadron unique is its role as Nebraska's educational and cultural hub for the Northwest region, thanks largely to Chadron State College, which draws students, faculty, and visitors from across the state and beyond. Chadron's history is steeped in both education and trade. The town emerged as a key settlement along trails and routes used by Native Americans and early European explorers. The Museum of the Fur Trade, located in the heart of the town, preserves the legacy of the region as a historic crossroads for commerce. Every summer, the Fur Trade Days Festival brings this history to life, with reenactments, demonstrations, and cultural events that draw visitors from across Nebraska and neighboring states. Through these celebrations, Chadron honors its past while fostering a sense of community pride. The town itself balances old and new. Brick buildings line the downtown streets, some dating back over a century, while modern stores, restaurants, and educational facilities serve the current population. The surrounding landscape, with rolling hills, forests, and streams, provides recreational opportunities, from hiking to camping, reflecting the town's deep connection to nature. Life in Chadron is defined by a mix of academic energy from the college, the steady rhythm of local businesses, and a strong sense of history that permeates every corner. Chadron's residents share a strong sense of identity shaped by both isolation and opportunity. Unlike larger cities where individuals may remain strangers to their neighbors, in Chadron, people know each other by sight and story. Community engagement is high, whether through school events, local theatre productions, or town festivals. Yet, living in such a remote area also has its challenges. Access to specialized medical care, higher-paying jobs, and certain amenities requires travel, reminding residents of the balance between comfort and isolation that defines life in this region. What unites Broadwater and Chadron, despite their differences in size, is the enduring influence of the railroads and trade routes that once defined the region. Broadwater stands as a quiet relic of a bygone era, where daily life revolves around family, farming, and survival. Chadron, while larger and more modern, carries the same spirit of resilience, blending education, culture, and history into a community that values tradition and growth equally. Walking through these towns, one can sense a rhythm that is absent in faster-paced urban centers. Morning light spills over wheat fields, illuminating farmhouses and barns. Children's laughter echoes in schoolyards. The scent of fresh soil mixes with the aroma of home-cooked meals drifting from kitchens. These details may seem small, but they are the essence of life in Nebraska's Northwest, a life built on hard work, community ties, and an enduring connection to the land. Both Broadwater and Chadron remind us that small towns are not defined by their size, but by their heart. The railroad tracks, whether dormant or still in use, are symbols of movement, growth, and history. They connect people to their past and, in subtle ways, to the wider world. Even as modernization and migration affect population trends, these towns endure, preserved by the pride of their residents, the beauty of the landscape, and the deep cultural roots that tie the community together. By the time travelers leave Broadwater's quiet streets and Chadron's historical avenues, they carry with them more than memories of buildings or scenery. They leave with a sense of the human spirit's resilience, the importance of history in shaping identity, and the quiet power of small towns where every individual counts and every story matters. The railroad legacy lives on, not just in iron and timber, but in the enduring lives and traditions of the people who call this part of Nebraska home. As we move further into Nebraska's Northwest, the towns we encounter grow smaller in population but richer in stories. Life in these places revolves around community, shared history, and the unwavering connection between people and the land. Here, neighbors rely on each other not just for friendship, but for survival. This chapter highlights Hay Springs, Keystone, and Antioch, three towns that exemplify the enduring spirit of Nebraska's rural communities. Our journey begins in Hay Springs, a town founded in 1885 with the arrival of the Fremont, Elkhorn, and Missouri Valley Railroad. Its name comes from a natural spring surrounded by tall grasses, a landmark that once provided water and respite to settlers and travelers alike. Today, roughly 550 people live here, balancing the demands of farming, ranching, and maintaining the warmth of a small town community. Walking through Hay Springs, it is easy to sense the rhythm of daily life. Early mornings are filled with the sounds of tractors in the fields, the lowing of cattle, and the rustle of wind through the prairie grasses. Farming remains the town's backbone, with corn, wheat, and hay dominating the surrounding landscape. Ranching also plays a vital role, with families raising cattle and other livestock across sprawling pastures. For residents, life is cyclical, planting in spring, tending through summer, harvesting in the fall, and enduring the harsh winter with patience and preparation. Community is at the heart of Hay Springs. Social gatherings, from town festivals to school events, are not mere entertainment. They are essential to preserving the bonds that sustain the town. The annual Hay Springs Festival brings residents together for music, games, and celebration, reminding everyone that life is not just work, but also shared joy. Even routine events, like stopping by the local diner or attending a town meeting, become opportunities to connect, catch up, and reinforce a sense of belonging. Challenges, however, are a part of life here. Access to major healthcare and specialized services often requires travel to larger cities, a difficult undertaking during extreme weather. Yet, residents of Hay Springs have learned to depend on each other, offering assistance, advice, and practical help when needed. In a world increasingly defined by anonymity, Hay Springs represents a place where people know each other's names, families, and stories, a living example of small-town resilience. Traveling south from Hay Springs, we come to Keystone, a tiny village with fewer than 70 residents. Keystone's claim to fame is its unique church, a single small building that serves both Catholic and Protestant congregations. This unusual arrangement is more than a practical solution. It reflects the town's cooperative spirit, where differences are set aside in favor of shared resources and community cohesion. Keystone's landscape is dotted with modest homes, open fields, and nearby Lake McCain, which brings a seasonal wave of visitors each summer. During the warm months, the lake becomes the center of activity, with fishing, boating, and family gatherings temporarily lifting the town's quiet veil. Yet as summer ends, Keystone slips back into its familiar rhythm of calm and reflection. The town's history as a railroad settlement lingers in its architecture and layout, with early 20th century buildings standing as silent witnesses to the past. Walking through Keystone is like stepping back in time, where simplicity, practicality, and neighborly care define daily life. Heading northeast, we arrive at Antioch, a town once nicknamed the Wonder City during World War I. Back then, Antioch thrived thanks to its sodium sulfate industry, an essential ingredient in glass making. Factories hummed with activity, and the town's population grew as workers and their families flocked to the area. Buildings rose quickly, stores opened, and a sense of optimism filled the streets. It was a period of promise, where the future seemed limitless, and the town's nickname reflected the pride and excitement of its residents. But the boom was short-lived. As demand for sodium sulfate declined and industrial operations scaled back, Antioch faced economic hardship. Factories closed, businesses shuttered, and residents moved away in search of better opportunities. Today, Antioch is often described as a ghost town, with only a handful of residents remaining amidst wide, empty plains. The ruins of the old factories stand as stark reminders of the town's fleeting prosperity. Rusted machinery, crumbling brick walls, and abandoned houses tell stories of ambition, labor, and the impermanence of industrial success. Yet, even in decline, Antioch embodies resilience. Those who remain are connected not by economic opportunity, but by choice, a deep-rooted connection to the land and the history that surrounds them. Life here is quiet, contemplative, and hard, shaped by the isolation of the plains and the unpredictable forces of nature. Residents rely on farming, hunting, and community ties to sustain themselves. Every building, every field, and every road carries the memory of a once vibrant town, reminding visitors that history is layered, complex, and never fully erased. What unites Hay Springs, Keystone, and Antioch is more than geography. It is the shared human spirit of small town life. In each town, the challenges of isolation, economic change, and shifting populations are met with adaptability, cooperation, and pride. Residents understand that survival is not just about individual effort, but about collective support, the willingness to help neighbors, and the ability to find meaning and joy in simplicity. Life in these towns also teaches patience and perspective. A day in Hay Springs, Keystone, or Antioch may seem slow to an outsider, but for those who live here, every sunrise and sunset marks a meaningful rhythm of work, family, and community. Children grow up learning the value of responsibility, respect, and resilience. Elders serve as keepers of memory, passing down stories that connect generations. Festivals, community events, and even quiet moments in the local diner or church reinforce the sense that life here is shared, interconnected, and purposeful. Travelers passing through may notice the stark differences between these towns and urban centers. There are fewer cars, wider open spaces, and a slower cadence to life. But those who pause to listen and observe will discover something richer, a deep connection to the past, a strong sense of identity, and a way of life that is increasingly rare in the modern world. Hay Springs, Keystone, and Antioch show us that small towns are more than the sum of their populations. They are living communities, shaped by history, geography, and the unwavering spirit of the people who call them home. By the time one leaves these towns, it is clear that Nebraska's small town spirit is not just a nostalgic idea, but a tangible, living force. It exists in the laughter of children running across open fields, in neighbors helping each other during harvest, in the shared traditions of church services and festivals, and in the quiet endurance of towns like Antioch, where history lingers in every brick and blade of grass. This is Nebraska at its most intimate, its most human, a place where community and resilience define life in ways that the outside world often overlooks, yet which remain essential to the heart of the state. As our journey through Nebraska's remote towns continues, we move into places where survival is a daily act of resilience. These towns are smaller, quieter, and often overlooked on maps, but they carry histories, stories, and a spirit that refuses to fade. Here, residents face economic decline, extreme weather, and shrinking populations, yet they remain fiercely connected to the land and to one another. In this chapter, we explore Woodlake, Bristow, Obert, and Magnet towns that embody the tenacity and endurance of rural Nebraska. Our first stop is Woodlake, the oldest town in Cherry County. Founded in the late 19th century, Woodlake once thrived as a bustling center with over 350 residents and a busy business district. For decades, the town prospered, fueled by farming, ranching, and the industrious spirit of its settlers. But, as with many small towns, challenges soon arrived. World War II drew young people to cities, while the local economy struggled to keep pace with modern demands. The closure of the Bank of Wood Lake in 1965 marked a significant blow, and devastating store fires in 1974 further accelerated the decline. Today, only about 48 people call Wood Lake home. Despite its small population, the town remains proud of its history and traditions. Hunting season brings temporary visitors, offering a brief surge of activity and community engagement. Residents cherish these moments, reconnecting with friends and family and sharing stories of the town's past. Life here moves slowly, but there is a rhythm sunrise over the plains, the steady hum of farm machinery, and the quiet of evenings spent under a sky so vast it seems infinite. Continuing north toward the South Dakota border, we arrive in Bristow, another small farming town. With just around 65 residents, Bristow is modest in size but rich in community spirit. Founded in 1895 during a railroad expansion, it was named in honor of Benjamin Bristow, a U.S. Treasury Secretary under President Ulysses S. Grant. The trains that once connected Bristow to larger markets are long gone, leaving only country roads as lifelines to the outside world. Life in Bristow revolves around agriculture, family, and neighborly cooperation. Residents understand that survival here is collective, not individual. Crops must be tended, livestock cared for, and seasonal tasks completed with precision and diligence. Yet, despite the hard work, there is joy in the simplicity of life. The sight of fields glowing gold at sunset, children riding bicycles along dusty roads, and neighbors sharing stories over fences or in town gatherings. Bristow exemplifies the quiet resilience of Nebraska's farming communities, where strength is measured not in numbers, but in commitment, endurance, and heart. Even smaller than Bristow is Obert, a village in Cedar County with just 25 residents. Life here is extremely isolated, surrounded by rolling green hills and vast farmland. With so few people, the village comes alive only during harvest season, when activity briefly picks up and the fields are filled with tractors, trucks, and workers coordinating their efforts. Extreme weather is common in Obert, from harsh winters that cover the land in snow to summer storms that test the resolve of residents. Yet, those who remain find a sense of peace and purpose in their daily lives. Obert's people know the value of self-reliance, resourcefulness, and mutual support, making the village a small but remarkably cohesive community. Just a short distance from Obert lies Magnet, a town whose very name tells a story of ambition and optimism. Founded in 1893 when the Chicago, St. Paul, Minneapolis, and Omaha Railway extended its line through the area, Magnet was intended to attract settlers like iron to a magnet. While the town never reached the population envisioned by its founder B. Smith, it remains a symbol of resilience and determination. Today, around 50 residents continue to call Magnet home, preserving the tight-knit community that has endured for generations. Magnet has faced its share of disasters. A major fire in 1925 destroyed part of the town, while tornadoes in 1937 and 1975 tested the strength and resolve of its residents. Yet each time, the community rebuilt, proving the town's motto, "Too tough to die," is more than just words, it is a lived reality. Residents here embody the perseverance of the Midwest, valuing neighborly support, hard work, and an unwavering attachment to the land. Walking through these four towns, Woodlake, Bristow, Obert, and Magnet, it becomes clear that Nebraska's small-town resilience is not simply about surviving, it is about thriving in a way that honors history, community, and the enduring human spirit. Each town has its own challenges, from population decline to isolation, from economic hardship to extreme weather, but all share a commitment to continuity, heritage, and mutual support. Life in these towns also teaches patience, humility, and perspective. Days are measured not by deadlines, but by the sun, the seasons, and the demands of the land. Children learn responsibility early, helping with chores, tending animals, and understanding the value of cooperation. Elders pass down stories, wisdom, and local history, keeping the memory of each town alive for future generations. Festivals, hunting seasons, and small-town gatherings provide respite from hard work, offering moments of joy, connection, and reflection. For travelers, visiting Woodlake, Bristow, Obert, and Magnet is like stepping into a different era. There are no crowded streets, no skyscrapers, and no bustling traffic. Instead, there is open land, quiet roads, and a deep sense of continuity. The towns are reminders that life is measured not by size or modern convenience, but by the strength of community, the bonds between neighbors, and the connection to the land that sustains them. Each town also teaches a lesson in endurance. Woodlake has survived war, fires, and economic decline. Bristow thrives despite its small population. Obert persists through extreme weather and isolation. Magnet has withstood disaster and disappointment, yet its residents continue to live, work, and care for one another. Together, these towns represent the indomitable spirit of Nebraska's remote communities, where life is both challenging and profoundly meaningful. By the time you leave these towns, the vast Nebraska plains stretch endlessly around you, a testament to both the beauty and the harshness of rural life. Woodlake, Bristow, Obert, and Magnet may be small in size, but they are monumental in spirit. They remind us that resilience is not about grand gestures, but about persistence, community, and the quiet courage to continue living in a place where every day matters, every person counts, and history lives on in the hearts of those who call it home. As our exploration of Nebraska's remote towns reaches its final chapter, we step into places that are truly one of a kind. These towns may be small, even tiny, yet they possess personalities and histories unlike anywhere else. From the famous one-person town of Monowee to the agricultural hub of Schubert, these communities showcase resilience, heritage, and the quiet magic that makes Nebraska's rural heartbeat strong. Our first stop is the most famous of them all, Monowee, a village that has captured global attention for being America's only officially recognized town with a population of just one resident. Elsie Eiler is not only the sole resident, but also mayor, librarian, and owner of the local tavern. Her story is one of extraordinary dedication and personal resolve. Monowee was once a small railroad town with around 150 residents during the 1930s. The train station served as a lifeline, connecting people and goods, and the town's economy thrived on local businesses and agricultural trade. Over the decades, Monowee's population dwindled as younger generations moved to cities in search of education, employment, and opportunities unavailable in the rural plains. Despite this decline, Elsie chose to remain. She maintains Rudy's Tavern, named after her late husband, and operates the town's tiny library, keeping alive a place for reading, history, and reflection. Visitors from across the globe travel to Manoe to meet Elsie, experience the surreal atmosphere of a one-person town, and witness a living testament to perseverance and the power of an individual. In Manoe, one person is enough to sustain a community not just practically, but symbolically, as a reminder of human resilience. From Manoe, our journey moves to Belden, a town with roughly 100 residents. Founded in the early 20th century after the construction of the Western Pacific Railroad, Belden was named after one of the area's earliest settler families. Unlike Manoe, Belden maintains more of a traditional small-town feel, surrounded by endless cornfields that stretch as far as the eye can see. Agriculture remains central to life here, with families working the land through generations. Community gatherings in Belden often take place at the town hall, where residents hold meetings, celebrate festivals, and coordinate shared activities. The railroad tracks, while rarely used today, stand as a reminder of the town's historical connection to wider markets and the movement of goods. Walking through Belden, one is struck by the combination of history, continuity, and the quiet pride of people who have chosen to remain connected to the land and each other. Here, life moves at a slower pace, yet every day is meaningful. Heading northeast, we come to Winside, a slightly larger town with just over 350 residents. Originally called Northside when it was founded in 1886, Winside has kept its small-town charm while offering more amenities and activities than many of Nebraska's tiniest villages. Community life is vibrant, revolving around youth club activities, tractor pull competitions, and annual music festivals. The town also houses a small museum in a repurposed church, showcasing a collection of military history and local artifacts. Despite its size, Winside faces challenges common to small towns, particularly the migration of younger generations to urban centers. Yet, residents remain committed to preserving the town's spirit, fostering community connections, and maintaining traditions that make Winside distinct. Festivals, parades, and community events strengthen ties and create a shared sense of belonging that is the lifeblood of the town. Winside exemplifies a balance between small-town intimacy and the cultural richness often associated with larger towns, proving that size does not determine significance. Finally, our journey concludes in Schubert, located in southeastern Nebraska. Schubert is a town rooted deeply in Nebraska's agricultural past, known historically for its apple orchards and farming heritage. While the town is modest in size, it carries a strong sense of history and community pride. The surrounding landscape is a patchwork of fields, orchards, and gentle rolling hills, creating a picturesque setting that reflects the state's agricultural identity. Life in Schubert is centered around farming, family, and the natural rhythms of the land. Residents work together to maintain crops, care for livestock, and preserve local traditions. Though the town may not appear on every map, its contribution to the region's agricultural output and cultural history is significant. Festivals, seasonal gatherings, and community celebrations bring people together, reinforcing the bonds that have sustained the town for generations. In Schubert, history, land, and community intersect, showcasing the enduring value of small-town life in Nebraska. Taken together, Manoe, Belden, Winside, and Schubert highlight the diversity and uniqueness of Nebraska's remote communities. Manoe shows us that even one person can preserve a town's existence and spirit. Belden demonstrates the strength of agricultural heritage and communal bonds. Winside blends small-town intimacy with cultural richness, while Schubert preserves a living connection to Nebraska's farming and orchard history. Each town is a living story, reflecting the challenges, triumphs, and enduring resilience of the people who call them home. Visiting these towns leaves a lasting impression. The open fields, quiet streets, historic buildings, and local traditions tell a story often overlooked by modern urban life. These communities thrive not because of economic power or population size, but because of the commitment of their residents to history, land, and one another. In a rapidly changing world, Manoe, Belden, Winside, and Schubert serve as reminders that small towns hold immense value not just in what they produce, but in the human spirit they cultivate and the stories they preserve. As the sun sets over Nebraska's plains, the horizon stretches endlessly, a final reminder of the vastness, beauty, and quiet magic of these unique towns. Monowi's lone resident, Belden's cornfields, Windside's festival streets, and Schubert's orchards together form a tapestry of endurance, community, and timeless rural life. Nebraska's remote towns may be small, but their hearts, histories, and legacies are immeasurable.